Los Angeles International Airport, Monday morning, 8:45 a.m. Maya Chen was running late, and the universe seemed to find this hilarious. 26 years old. First time flying alone for something that actually mattered. First time leaving California for a job that could change everything. And of course, Los Angeles traffic had decided to stage its own personal apocalypse on the 405 freeway that morning. The terminal stretched before her like an obstacle course designed by someone who genuinely enjoyed watching people suffer. Families clustered around gate counters. Business travelers moved with the practiced efficiency of people who lived in airports. Maya dodged between them, her worn backpack bouncing against her spine, her bright teal Converse sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. Gate B23. Where the hell was Gate B23? The announcement echoed through the terminal speakers, flat and mechanical. Flight 847 to New York. Boarding now at Gate B23. Final call. Final call. The words sent a spike of panic through her chest. Maya ran faster, mentally calculating. 5 minutes to get there. 5 minutes for the line. She was cutting it close. Too close. The kind of close that made her palms sweat and her heart hammer against her ribs. She rounded the corner at full speed. The impact was violent enough that Maya felt her teeth rattle. Her backpack flew from her shoulder. Notebooks scattered across the polished floor. Pens rolled in 3 different directions. And a pack of tampons, because the universe had a sense of humor, slid gracefully across the tile and came to rest at the feet of a man in a suit. A very expensive suit. Maya looked up from her hands and knees, still dazed from the collision. The man standing above her was tall, impeccably dressed, chestnut hair styled with the kind of precision that suggested a personal barber, gray eyes that looked like storm clouds over the Atlantic, and an expression of barely disguised irritation that made Maya want to both apologize and punch him in his perfectly symmetrical face. He picked up the tampon box with 2 fingers, holding it away from his body like it might explode. Here. His voice carried the crisp edge of New York winters and expensive private schools. Your item. Maya blinked, still processing, still trying to remember how to form words. I'm sorry, she started to scramble for her scattered belongings. I was running because the traffic and the flight, and I'm so sorry. He interrupted her, his tone making it clear he'd already judged her and found her wanting. You West Coast people always show up late and then expect the world to adapt to your timeline. The words hit Maya like cold water. She stopped gathering her notebooks, looked up at him, really looked at him, saw the arrogance in the set of his shoulders, the way he held himself like someone who'd never been told no, the dismissive curl of his lip. Something in Maya's chest caught fire. West Coast people. She repeated the words slowly, feeling heat rise up her neck. Look here, you ridiculous stuck-up East Coast jerk. I don't know who you think you are. The announcement cut through her building rage. Passengers on Flight 847 to New York. Final boarding call at Gate B23. Maya froze. Her carry-on was half-packed. Her tampons were still on the floor. And she was approximately 30 seconds from missing the most important flight of her life. The man raised one perfectly groomed eyebrow. His mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Flight 847. What a coincidence, Mauve. He lifted his own briefcase. Italian leather. Probably cost more than Maya's entire wardrobe. Maybe we should continue this charming conversation on board. Maya grabbed her things with shaking hands, shoved notebooks into her backpack without caring about order or organization. I'd rather sit next to a crying baby. She heard his response as she stood up, still fumbling with her belongings. At least crying babies don't make excuses for their complete lack of punctuality. Maya turned to face him. All the anxiety about being late, all the stress of moving across the country, all the fear of this new job crystallized into pure fury. You know what? Her voice was low but steady. You're exactly the kind of person that gives East Coast people a bad name. Arrogant, pretentious, and probably never worked a day in your life for anything you have. His smile turned dangerous. Slow, controlled. Interesting theory. It's not a theory. Maya shoved the last notebook into her backpack with more force than necessary. It's an observation. Let me guess. Daddy paid for college, got you the job through connections, And now you walk around thinking you're better than everyone else. Are you finished? I haven't even started. Maya could feel her voice rising but couldn't stop it. People like you are the reason this country is so divided. You think being born with a silver spoon gives you the right to treat others like garbage. The man was quiet for a long moment, studying Maya's flushed face with an expression she couldn't read. You don't know absolutely anything about me. His voice was low, controlled, but something underneath it made Maya pause. I know enough. Final call for flight 847, gate B23 will be closed in 2 minutes. Maya swore under her breath and took off running. Left the mysterious man and his irritating arrogance behind, focused only on getting to that gate before they closed the door and her entire future disappeared with it. She made it with 40 seconds to spare. 40 minutes later, settled in seat 14A with a window view and no sign of the arrogant stranger, Maya finally allowed herself to breathe. Her heart rate slowed. Her hands stopped shaking. The flight was smooth. She had a window seat. And best of all, there was no sign of Mr. Ridiculously Arrogant anywhere in the economy cabin. Maybe he'd missed the flight. Maybe there was justice in the universe after all. Excuse me, miss. Maya looked up from the book she'd been pretending to read for 20 minutes. A flight attendant smiled down at her with professional warmth. Would you mind coming with me? We have an upgrade to business class for you. Maya blinked. Upgrade? But I didn't ask for any upgrade. Courtesy of the company, you're Maya Chen from Summit Tech Solutions, correct? Maya nodded slowly. This was strange, unexpected. But who was she to refuse a better seat? She gathered her things and followed the attendant through the curtain into business class. The seats were wider, the passengers fewer. Maya settled into her new spot with a mixture of confusion and gratitude. Maybe this was how real companies treated their new employees. Maybe this was what success looked like. She was just starting to relax when she heard a voice that made her stomach drop to somewhere around 30,000 feet below. Champagne, Mr. Cross? Maya turned slowly in her seat, 2 rows ahead, raising a crystal glass with an expression that mixed amusement and something darker, was the man from the airport. Thank you, he said to the flight attendant. His eyes never left Maya's face. And please ask my new colleague to join me. We have a lot to discuss. The world tilted sideways. Colleague, Mr. Cross. Maya's brain scrambled to connect dots that suddenly seemed horrifyingly obvious. Daniel Cross, CEO of Summit Tech Solutions. Her new boss. The man she'd just called a ridiculous, stuck-up jerk who'd never worked a day in his life. She closed her eyes, took a long breath, opened them again, hoping the universe had rewritten itself in those 3 seconds. It hadn't. Daniel Cross was still looking at her, still waiting. The amusement in his gray eyes had sharpened into something that looked dangerously like satisfaction. Looks like we're going to be very close colleagues, Miss Chen. He raised his champagne glass in a mocking toast. This should be interesting. Maya stood on shaking legs, walked a short distance to his seat, sat down in the empty chair beside him, feeling like she was walking to her own execution. Mr. Cross, she managed to keep her voice steady. About what happened in the terminal, I had no idea who you were. I'm deeply sorry. He studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Are you apologizing because you're sorry, or because you found out who I am? The question caught Maya off guard. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Both, she admitted finally. Mostly the second one, if I'm being honest. Something flickered across Daniel's face. Might have been respect, might have been surprise. At least you're honest. He set down his champagne. Let me tell you something, Miss Chen. I grew up in Queens, not Manhattan, Queens. My father was a mechanic. My mother worked double shifts as a nurse just to keep food on the table. Maya felt her face flush. I got into Columbia on a full scholarship, worked 3 jobs to pay for everything else, delivered pizzas until 2 in the morning, tutored entitled rich kids who treated me like the help, saved every dollar until I had $2,000 to my name and a business idea I believed in. He leaned back in his seat, his gray eyes never leaving her face. So your theory about silver spoons and never working? Completely wrong, but I appreciate the passion behind it. Maya wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Of course you didn't know. You saw an expensive suit and made assumptions. Daniel's voice wasn't angry exactly. But there was an edge to it that cut, the same way you assumed I'd never earned anything, never struggled, never fought for what I have. The plane hummed around them, other passengers talked quietly. Flight attendants moved through the cabin, and Maya sat frozen in her seat, feeling like the worst person who'd ever lived. "I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad," Daniel said finally, his tone softening slightly. "I'm telling you because I want you to understand something. I don't care where you come from, what your background is, how much money your parents have or don't have. I care about one thing. Can you do the job?" Maya looked up at him, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. "Yes," she said, "I can do the job." "Good, because despite our colorful introduction, your portfolio is impressive. Your work at Design Lab LA was innovative. Your interview was the best I've seen in years, and your references couldn't stop talking about your talent and work ethic." "Really?" Maya couldn't keep the surprise out of her voice. "Really? Which is why I'm willing to pretend the airport incident never happened. If you are." Maya felt something loosen in her chest, relief, gratitude, a small spark of hope that maybe she hadn't completely destroyed her future in the first 10 minutes. "Thank you. I promise I won't let you down." "I'm counting on it." Daniel stood up, the conversation clearly over. "Welcome to Summit Tech Solutions, Miss Chen. Rachel will show you to your office when we land. We have a big project launching next month, and you're going to be leading the user experience design." As he walked back to his seat, Maya sat alone with her thoughts. The champagne she hadn't touched, the view of clouds outside the window. She'd just called her new CEO a stuck-up jerk. He'd forgiven her, given her a second chance, and somehow, impossibly, she was still employed. Maya pulled out her phone, texted her sister Jade despite the airplane Wi-Fi charges. "You won't believe what just happened." 3 days later, Maya stood in front of the gleaming glass tower that housed Summit Tech Solutions. The company logo gleamed from the chrome facade. Her reflection stared back at her from the polished windows. She looked small, young, terrified. The lobby was all clean lines and natural light, marble floors, modern art, the kind of space designed to intimidate and impress in equal measure. "Good morning." The woman at reception had perfectly styled hair and a smile that could power Times Square. "You must be Maya Chen. I'm Rachel, Mr. Cross's assistant." Rachel led her to the elevator, chatted pleasantly about company benefits and office culture. But Maya caught something else in her tone. Sympathy, amusement, the knowledge of someone who knew exactly what had happened at LAX and found it entertaining. The elevator dinged at the 45th floor. Rachel led Maya down a corridor lined with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. "Mr. Cross asked me to bring you straight to his office when you arrived." Rachel's smile faltered slightly. "He's eager to meet with you." The word eager sounded ominous. Daniel's office was exactly what Maya expected. Corner space, massive windows, Central Park spread out below like a painting, minimalist furniture, expensive art, a wall of awards that spoke to years of success and ruthless competence. "Miss Chen," Daniel stood as she entered. Charcoal suit today, crisp white shirt, gray eyes that seemed to see right through her carefully constructed professional demeanor. Right on time. Maya's mouth went dry. "Mr. Cross, please, have a seat." She perched on the edge of a leather chair that probably cost more than her car, clasped her hands in her lap to keep them from shaking. They stared at each other for a long moment. The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight. "So," Daniel said finally, leaning back in his chair, "this is awkward." Despite everything, Maya felt a small laugh escape. "That's one way to put it. I have to say, Miss Chen, in 15 years of running this company, I've never had a new employee call me a ridiculous, stuck-up jerk before even knowing who I was." Maya's cheeks burned. "About that, I'm curious," Daniel continued. "What exactly gave you the impression that I was born with a silver spoon?" I jumped to conclusions. Maya forced herself to meet his eyes. "I was stressed, running late, and I took it out on you. It was unprofessional and unfair, and I'm deeply sorry." Daniel picked up a pen, tapped it against his desk. "Tell me, Miss Chen, what do you know about my background?" Maya realized with horror that she knew absolutely nothing beyond his name and position. "Not much, honestly." His expression shifted. became something softer, more human. My grandmother raised me, he said quietly. While my parents worked, she was Italian, immigrated here with nothing, taught me to cook, taught me Italian. Taught me that success isn't about money. It's about building something that matters and treating people with respect. He paused, looked out the window at Manhattan spread below. She died my senior year of college. Cancer. I started this company with the money I'd been saving to help with her medical bills. She never got to see it succeed. But everything I do thinking about what she'd say. Maya felt her throat tighten. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you. Daniel turned back to face her. But I'm not telling you this for sympathy, May. I'm telling you because I want you to understand something. I judge people on their work, their talent, their dedication, not where they come from or who their parents are. He leaned forward, his gray eyes intense. Can you do the job, Miss Chen? Yes, Maya said, no hesitation. I can do the job. Good, because we have a major client presentation in 4 weeks. Apex Industries, $12 million annual contract. And you're leading the user experience redesign. Maya felt her eyes widen. That's a huge responsibility. It is, which is why I'm assigning Tyler Brooks as your lead developer. Rachel will introduce you to the team. You'll have full access to everything you need. He stood up, walked around his desk, extended his hand. Welcome to Summit Tech Solutions, Miss Chen. I look forward to working with you. Maya shook his hand, tried to ignore the way her pulse jumped at the contact. Thank you, Mr. Cross. I won't disappoint you. I'm sure you won't. As Rachel led her to her new office, Maya caught Daniel watching through his window, his expression thoughtful, unreadable. Her office was bigger than her college dorm. Windows overlooking the Empire State Building, modern desk, high-end computer, everything she needed to succeed or fail spectacularly. Tyler Brooks appeared in her doorway 10 minutes later. 29 years old, laid-back posture, brilliant eyes, and a grin that suggested he knew every secret in the building. So you're the one who called the boss a stuck-up jerk at LAX. Maya's mortification must have shown on her face because Tyler laughed. Don't worry, half the office wishes they had the guts. I'm Tyler, lead developer, your new partner in crime for the Apex project. He pulled up a chair, settled in like they were old friends. Fair warning. The Apex CEO is Victoria Sterling. She's notoriously difficult, hates most designs, rejects ideas for fun, and she's never been impressed by anything we've shown her. Maya felt her stomach clench. So no pressure. Exactly. Tyler grinned. But hey, if you can survive Daniel Cross after calling him names, you can survive anything. The first 3 weeks passed in a blur of work and carefully maintained distance. Maya dove into the Apex project with single-minded focus. Spent 12-hour days analyzing their current interface. Stayed late mapping user flows. Collaborated with Tyler over pizza and energy drinks. Daniel observed from a distance, professional nods in the hallway. Compliments on her preliminary designs and team meetings, but nothing personal, nothing that crossed the carefully drawn lines between boss and employee. Except for the moments when Maya caught him watching her through his office window, when their eyes would meet across the conference room, when his expression would soften for just a second before the professional mask slipped back into place. Week 3, Friday night, 9 p.m. Maya was alone in her office, finishing the presentation deck for Monday's client review. The building was quiet. Most people had left hours ago. Still here? Maya looked up to find Daniel standing in her doorway. He'd loosened his tie, rolled up his sleeves, looked more human than she'd ever seen him. Just finishing up. She gestured at her screen. Want to make sure everything's perfect for Monday. Daniel walked into her office. Stood beside her desk looking at the designs displayed on her monitor. You don't have to prove yourself every single night, Maya. It was the first time he'd used her first name. The sound of it in his voice made something flutter in her chest. Old habits, she admitted. I'm used to being underestimated. I never underestimated you. His voice was quiet, not even at the airport. You called me late and entitled. I called you passionate and unfiltered. Daniel turned to look at her, his gray eyes catching the light from her computer screen. There's a difference. They stood there for a moment. Too close, the office suddenly feeling smaller than it had a minute ago. My grandmother would have liked you, Daniel said suddenly. She always said I needed someone to challenge me. Keep me honest. Maya felt her breath catch. That's what I do? From the moment you called me a ridiculous, stuck-up jerk. He smiled, a real smile. Not the polished professional version. You've been keeping me honest. His hand moved as if to touch her face. Stopped halfway. The moment stretched between them like pulled taffy. We should maintain boundaries. Daniel stepped back, his voice formal again. I'm your boss. Right. Maya nodded, tried to ignore the disappointment in her chest. Boundaries. Professional. Daniel walked to the door, paused, turned back. For what it's worth, working with you these past 3 weeks has been the best part of my day. He was gone before Maya could respond. She sat alone in her office, staring at her reflection in the darkened window, touching her face where his hand had almost landed. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hope you got some sleep. Don't come in this weekend. That's an order. DC Maya stared at the message, realized Daniel had her personal number, typed back before she could overthink it. Only if you promise the same. Even CEOs need rest. His response came 30 seconds later. Deal. Though I'm terrible at following my own advice. A moment later, another text. I'm at the office anyway. Maya smiled despite herself. Type back. I'm at a coffee shop sketching designs. We're both workaholics. Daniel's final message made her heart skip. Or it could be perfect. See you Monday, Maya. She stared at those words. The first time he'd used her name in text, the suggestion hidden in that single sentence. Monday morning brought catastrophe. Rachel's voice on the phone was urgent. Emergency meeting. Conference room, now. Maya grabbed her laptop and ran. Found Daniel and Tyler already there. Daniel's jaw was tight. His hands gripped the edge of the table. Victoria Sterling tried the beta version, he said without preamble. Her feedback was not positive. How not positive, Maya asked. Daniel slid a tablet across the table. Victoria's recorded session played on the screen. The Apex CEO clicking through the interface with increasing frustration, muttering under her breath, finally giving up and calling her assistant. Her exact words. Daniel's voice was controlled, but Maya heard the tension underneath. Confusing, unintuitive, unnecessarily complicated. Tyler swore quietly. That's bad. It gets worse. Daniel leaned forward. She's giving us 48 hours to fix it. Or the contract goes to our competitor. 48 hours. Maya felt the room spin slightly. Mr. Cross, that's barely enough time to identify the problems, let alone rebuild. I know what it is. Daniel met her eyes. Which is why I'm pulling both of you off everything else. This project is now your only priority. Whatever you need, whatever resources. You have 48 hours to save a $12 million contract. The weight of it settled on Maya's shoulders like a physical thing. I won't let you down, she heard herself say. I know you won't. Something in Daniel's expression shifted, softened. Because you're the most talented designer I've ever seen, Maya. And if anyone can fix this, it's you. The next 48 hours blurred into a fever dream of caffeine and desperation. Maya and Tyler commandeered the main conference room, covered the walls with printouts and sticky notes, ordered pizza at midnight and Chinese food at dawn. Daniel appeared periodically, brought coffee, asked quiet questions, never interfered but always present, a steady anchor in the chaos. 2 a.m. Wednesday morning. Maya sat alone at the conference table. Everyone else had gone home to sleep. She stared at the dashboard mock-up on her screen, felt tears of frustration burn behind her eyes. The design wasn't working. No matter how she rearranged it, no matter what she tried, something fundamental was wrong and she couldn't see it. The door opened. Daniel walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee, set one in front of her without speaking. I can't get it right. Maya's voice cracked. The flow is wrong, but I can't figure out why. Daniel pulled out the chair beside her, sat down, studied her screen in silence. You're thinking like an engineer, he said finally. But Victoria doesn't think like an engineer. She thinks like a CEO, like someone who needs to accomplish goals, not navigate technical functions. Maya looked at him, then back at the screen, and suddenly she saw it. We built the interface around the system architecture. She breathed. But we should have built it around user goals. Exactly. She started redesigning right there. 2 in the morning, Daniel sitting beside her, making quiet suggestions, pointing out navigation issues, his presence somehow making everything clearer. 3 hours later, they had it. A completely reimagined interface that flowed like a conversation instead of a technical manual. Maya turned to thank him and found Daniel already looking at her, his gray eyes soft in the dim conference room light. "You're brilliant," he said quietly. "You know that? I'm exhausted," Maya managed. "You're brilliant and exhausted." Daniel reached up, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers brushing her cheek. "You have 2 pencils in your hair. Emergency hair ties." His hand lingered near her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. The moment stretched, pulled tight, ready to snap. They were going to kiss. Maya could feel it, see it in the way Daniel's eyes dropped to her lips, in the way he leaned closer. His phone shattered the moment, rang loud and insistent. Daniel jerked back, fumbled for it, answered with barely controlled frustration. "Yes." Pause. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up, stood, ran a hand through his hair. "Board meeting. I have to go." "Of course." Maya's voice sounded strange to her own ears. "Go." Daniel paused at the door, looked back. "Maya, get some sleep. We're going to win this." After he left, Maya sat alone in the quiet conference room, touched her face where his hand had been, wondered what the hell she was doing. Wednesday afternoon, 4 p.m., Victoria Sterling walked into the presentation room with her executive team, looked at Maya with skeptical eyes. "This better be worth my time, Miss Chen." Maya stood, clicked to her first slide, and began to walk them through 48 hours of sleepless redesign. She explained the shift from technical functions to executive workflow, demonstrated the new predictive navigation, handed Victoria a tablet, and let her try it live. The room fell silent as Victoria clicked through the interface, her expression unreadable. Maya held her breath. Beside her, Tyler was vibrating with nervous energy. Daniel stood at the back of the room, his face professionally neutral, but his hands gripped tight behind his back. Victoria looked up from the tablet, met Maya's eyes. "This is exactly what I was looking for." The relief that flooded through Maya was so intense she felt dizzy. "The interface is intuitive," Victoria continued. "Clean, elegant. It thinks the way I think. Miss Chen, you've exceeded my expectations." She turned to Daniel. "Where did you find her?" "She found me." Daniel's voice carried a warmth that made Maya's chest tight. "Or rather, she crashed into me." Victoria's laugh was unexpected. "Well, the contract is yours, and I want to expand our engagement." "Expand?" Daniel stepped forward. "We're opening 7 new subsidiary divisions. I want this interface deployed across all of them. Triple the current contract value. 36 million annually." The room erupted in quiet congratulations. Handshakes, relief. Tyler hugged Maya hard enough to crack her ribs. But Maya only had eyes for Daniel, watching her from across the room, his expression a mixture of pride and something else, something that made her heart race. After Victoria left, after the team dispersed, Maya found herself alone with Daniel in her office. The door closed, the building quiet around them. "You just secured this company's future for the next 5 years," Daniel said. "Do you understand that?" "I understand. I need about 12 hours of sleep." He laughed, stepped closer. "Maya, what you did, it was extraordinary. We did it together." "No," his voice was firm. "You did it. Your vision, your brilliance. I just brought coffee and stayed out of your way." They stood too close again, the air between them charged with everything unspoken. Daniel's hand came up, cupped her face. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. "There's something I need to tell you." His voice was rough. "About workplace relationships." Maya's heart stopped. Started again too fast. "The company has a strict policy. They need to be disclosed to HR. But they're not forbidden." He was giving her an out, a choice, a moment to step back before they crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Maya made her decision. "Then we should probably disclose it," she whispered. "Because I'm tired of pretending I don't feel this." Daniel kissed her, soft at first, then deeper, his hands in her hair, her fingers gripping his shirt. 48 hours of tension and fear and exhaustion pouring into that single moment. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. Dinner tomorrow night. His voice was steady despite his racing pulse. There's an Italian place in the village, just us. No work, no presentations, just us, Maya smiled, touched his face, felt the future shifting into something terrifying and beautiful. Yes, she said, just us. And as the Manhattan skyline glittered outside her window, as Daniel held her like she was something precious, Maya Chen thought about airports and collisions and how the best things in life always started with a little turbulence. She had no idea what came next, but for the first time in her life, she couldn't wait to find out. The Italian restaurant in Greenwich Village was exactly what Maya needed. Small, intimate, the kind of place where exposed brick walls held decades of whispered conversations, and the warm light made everyone look like they belonged in a film from the 1950s. Daniel was waiting outside when Maya arrived. Dark jeans instead of the suit she was used to, navy button-down with the sleeves rolled up, leather jacket that made him look less like a CEO and more like someone she might have met in a coffee shop and fallen for without complication. Wow, he said when he saw her. Just that, just wow. Maya had chosen her navy wrap dress carefully, the one Jade had insisted she pack when she moved to New York, the one that made her feel confident and beautiful and like someone who deserved to be here. You clean up pretty well yourself, she managed. Inside, the owner greeted Daniel like family. Antonio, older Italian man with warm eyes and hands that gestured as much as his voice. Any friend of Daniel is family here, he said, leading them to a corner table. His accent was thick, genuine, the kind that spoke of Naples and Sunday dinners and recipes passed down through generations. You come here often, Maya said as they settled into their seats. At least once a week, Daniel admitted. It's my escape from the corporate world. The food is incredible. Antonio treats everyone like family, and nobody here cares that I'm a CEO. He ordered for them in fluent Italian. Maya raised an eyebrow. My grandmother, Daniel explained, she insisted I learn the language. More importantly, she taught me to appreciate good food. She would have loved this place. Maya heard the past tense, felt something tighten in her chest. Were you close? Very close. Daniel's expression softened in a way Maya had never seen in the office. She raised me while my parents worked their multiple jobs. She's the one who taught me that success isn't about money. It's about building something that matters, treating people with respect. He paused, looked down at his hands. She died in my senior year at Columbia. Cancer. I started Summit Tech with the money I'd been saving to help with her medical bills. She never got to see it succeed. I'm sorry. Maya reached across the table, touched his hand without thinking. Thank you. Daniel turned his hand over, laced his fingers through hers. She would have liked you, I think. She always said I needed someone who would challenge me and keep me honest. Is that what I do? His smile was genuine, unguarded, from the moment you called me a ridiculous stuck-up jerk in the airport. The food arrived. Perfect carbonara for Daniel. Seafood risotto for Maya that tasted like the ocean and summer, and things she didn't have words for. They talked about everything and nothing, childhoods and dreams, and the paths that had led them both to this moment. Maya told him about her parents, second-generation Chinese immigrants who'd built stable, quiet lives. Her father teaching physics to teenagers who mostly didn't care. Her mother working pediatric night shifts and coming home with stories that made Maya's chest ache. Growing up feeling the weight of expectations. The pressure to be perfect. To choose practical over passionate. Art and design were my rebellion. Maya admitted, my parents wanted me to be a doctor or engineer. I wanted to make beautiful things. And now you make beautiful things that solve complex problems, Daniel said. Best of both worlds. She told him about Jade, her younger sister, who somehow ended up being the wise one, who'd pushed Maya to move to New York when every logical bone in her body screamed to stay safe in Los Angeles. She said I was too comfortable. Maya smiled at the memory that I needed to challenge myself. She was right, obviously, but I spent the first week here crying in my tiny apartment and eating way too much takeout. What made you stay? Daniel's question was simple, but the answer felt important. I realized that being scared meant I was doing something that mattered. Maya met his eyes. I'd rather fail at something important than succeed at something safe. Daniel was quiet for a long moment, looking at her like she'd just said something profound. That's exactly how I felt when I started Summit Tech, he said finally. Everyone told me I was crazy to leave Goldman Sachs. 6-figure salary, clear path to partner. But I couldn't shake the feeling that safe wasn't the same as alive. They shared tiramisu for dessert, argued about whether pineapple belonged on pizza with a passion that made the people at the next table smile, lingered over coffee long after they should have asked for the check. Walking back to Maya's apartment, their hands found each other naturally. The October air was crisp but not cold, the village streets alive with the energy of a Tuesday night in the city that never slept. "This is me," Maya said when they reached her building, feeling suddenly nervous. Unsure of the protocol for ending a date with your boss, who you'd kissed in your office less than 24 hours ago. Daniel turned to face her, stepped closer. "I know this is complicated," his voice was low, intimate. "I know there are about 100 reasons why this could be a terrible idea. But," Maya prompted, "but I haven't felt this way about anyone and maybe ever." He cupped her face with one hand. "And I don't want to pretend that what's happening between us isn't real just because it's inconvenient." Maya stood on her tiptoes, kissed him instead of answering with words. This kiss was different from the one in her office, slower, sweeter, full of promise instead of desperation. When they broke apart, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. "I'll take that as a yes." "That's a yes," Maya confirmed. The next 3 months passed in a blur of stolen moments and carefully maintained boundaries. They disclosed their relationship to HR within the first week. Rachel helped navigate the paperwork with discretion and a knowing smile. The office suspected, but nobody said anything directly. Maya was promoted to senior UX director after the Apex success. Corner office 3 doors down from Daniel. A raise that made her call her parents and hear the pride in their voices. Recognition that she'd earned through talent and work, not through who she was dating. The relationship developed in the spaces between work. Coffee shop meetings on Saturday mornings. Cooking together in Daniel's Brooklyn apartment while he taught her his grandmother's recipes. Late-night phone calls when they were both working too late to see each other. Weekend trips to the Hamptons where Maya met Daniel's college friends and realized he had a whole life outside the polished CEO persona. Tyler became an unexpected ally, figured out their relationship within 3 weeks, and appointed himself chief wingman and keeper of secrets. "You two are disgustingly happy," he told Maya one morning, handing her coffee and grinning. "It's nauseating and also kind of beautiful. We're trying to keep it professional at work." Tyler snorted. "You're failing." He turned away humming. "But it's fine. Everyone's just glad the boss is human." Month 3 brought Summit Tech's annual charity gala. Black tie event at the Plaza Hotel. New York's tech elite mingling with old money and new. Maya wore an emerald gown that made Daniel's eyes go dark when he saw her. "You're stunning," he whispered, helping her out of the car, his hand on her lower back as they walked into the hotel. It was their first public appearance as a couple since the HR disclosure. Maya felt the weight of eyes on them, conversations that paused as they passed. But Daniel's steady presence beside her made it bearable. Victoria Sterling was there, approached them during cocktail hour with a champagne flute and a rare smile. "You two make a formidable team," she said, "both professionally and apparently otherwise." "We try." Daniel's hand tightened slightly on Maya's waist. The dancing started after dinner. Daniel pulled Maya onto the floor with easy confidence, held her close as they moved to music that was probably too slow and definitely too romantic for a corporate event. "This is nice," Maya said, her head on his shoulder. "It is." They were mid-spin when Maya noticed her. A blonde woman standing at the edge of the dance floor. Elegant, expensive jewelry that caught the light. And ice in her eyes as she watched Daniel with an intensity that made Maya's stomach clench. Daniel followed her gaze, went completely still. "Excuse me," he said, voice tight. "I need to handle something." He crossed the floor before Maya could respond. The blonde woman's face shifted when she saw him coming. Something that might have been hope, might have been regret. Tyler appeared at Maya's elbow. "You okay?" "Who is that?" Maya asked, watching Daniel and the woman talk in tense, quiet voices. Tyler's expression turned uncomfortable. "That's Natalie Westwood, Daniel's ex-fiancée." The words hit like cold water. Ex-fiancée. Maya watched them, saw the history in the way they stood, the familiarity despite the obvious tension. Natalie reached out to touch Daniel's arm. He stepped back, said something that made her face harden. When Daniel returned 10 minutes later, his jaw was tight, his eyes troubled. "Everything okay?" Maya asked. "Fine," his voice said it wasn't. "Let's get some air." Outside on the terrace, Manhattan glittering below them, Daniel finally spoke. "I should have told you about Natalie." Maya waited. Let the silence pull the truth out. "We dated for 3 years, engaged for 1. She left me 2 weeks before the wedding. There was a job opportunity in Paris. Major investment bank. once-in-a-lifetime position. He leaned against the railing, looked out at the city instead of at Maya. I asked her to postpone it, not cancel, just delay for 6 months so we could figure out how to make it work. She said I was asking her to choose between her career and me. We fought, she left, took the Paris job, and I buried myself in building Summit Tech. Did you ask her to choose? Maya's question was quiet. Daniel turned to face her. I thought I was asking for compromise. She thought I was asking for sacrifice. Maybe we were both right. Before Maya could respond, heels clicked on the terrace stone. Natalie stepped out of the shadows like she'd been waiting. So you're the new one, she said, looking Maya up and down with calculating eyes. Excuse me? Daniel has a type. Natalie's smile was sharp, ambitious, driven, career-focused, until you realize he expects you to choose him over everything else. You don't know our relationship, Maya said, keeping her voice steady. I know Daniel. Natalie stepped closer. When push comes to shove, he'll want you to sacrifice your dreams for his. I wasn't willing to. Are you? That's enough. Daniel's voice cut through. Natalie, you need to leave. I made a mistake. Natalie's mask slipped, showed something vulnerable underneath. Leaving you was a mistake. I came back to fix it. I've moved on. Have you? Natalie looked at Maya, then back at Daniel. We'll see. After she left, the silence between Maya and Daniel felt heavy, weighted with questions neither of them wanted to ask. The drive back to Maya's apartment was quiet. Daniel's hands tight on the steering wheel. Maya staring out the window at the city passing by. Inside her apartment, the argument finally came. Why didn't you tell me about her? Maya asked. It was years ago. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. It didn't seem relevant. Your ex-fiancée who left you before the wedding doesn't seem relevant? She didn't leave me at the altar. His voice was controlled. Too controlled. She ended it 2 weeks before. There's a difference. Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. Did you ask her to choose between you and Paris? I asked her to consider postponing for 6 months so we could plan our future together. But you wanted her to choose you. Is that so wrong? Daniel's composure cracked. Wanting your partner to prioritize the relationship? It is if it means giving up a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The words hung between them, sharp and cutting. Daniel's next question was quiet, almost too quiet to hear. If you had to choose between me and your career, Maya, what would you pick? Maya felt her breath catch. I don't think that's a fair question. It's the only question that matters. She couldn't answer. Didn't know how. The silence stretched between them until Daniel nodded slowly. I should go, he said. Maya didn't stop him, watched him leave, closed the door and leaned against it, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under her. The next week brought tension that everyone in the office could feel. Maya and Daniel were professional, distant, polite in a way that hurt more than fighting. Natalie kept appearing, lunch meetings with Daniel that were apparently legitimate business since she worked in venture capital. Expensive gifts delivered to the office. Her presence a constant reminder of questions Maya didn't want to answer. Friday afternoon, Victoria Sterling called Maya to a private meeting, not at Summit Tech, at Apex Industries headquarters. Victoria's corner office with views that rivaled Daniel's. I've been watching you, Victoria said without preamble. You're wasted at Summit Tech. Maya blinked. I'm sorry. Victoria slid a folder across her desk. I'm starting a new division, Apex Digital. I want you to run it as CEO. The world tilted sideways. CEO, based in San Francisco. Salary $350,000 plus equity. You'd report directly to me. Build the division from the ground up. Victoria leaned back in her chair. This is the opportunity of a lifetime, Maya, the kind that doesn't come twice. Maya's hands shook as she opened the folder, saw the details, the scope, the timeline. It starts in 6 weeks, permanent relocation to San Francisco. The words permanent relocation echoed in her head. I need time to think, Maya managed. Of course, Victoria's smile was knowing. You have 1 week. But Maya, let me give you some advice. Don't let a man, even a good one, make this decision for you. She paused, looked out at the city. I chose my career over marriage twice. Never regretted it. Built an empire instead. You're young, talented. You could have everything. Don't settle for half. Maya left the meeting feeling like she was drowning. CEO, San Francisco, everything she'd ever dreamed of. And the end of everything she'd just found with Daniel. That evening she told him, his office after everyone had gone home, the city dark beyond the windows. Daniel's reaction was controlled, too controlled. CEO, his voice was carefully neutral. San Francisco, that's incredible, Maya. You're not upset? I'm terrified, he admitted. But I'd be an asshole to stand in your way. It's permanent relocation. Maya felt tears threatening. We'd be ending this. Would we? Daniel stepped closer. People do long distance. For how long? A year? 2? That's not fair to either of us. The question hung between them, heavy with everything they weren't saying. What if I don't go? Maya whispered. What if I stay here? With you? Then I'd wonder if you'd resent me someday. Daniel cupped her face. For the opportunity you gave up. And I can't live with that. So I should go. I'm saying I can't make this decision for you. Maya felt something break inside her chest. Tell me what you want, Daniel. I want you to chase your dreams, he said. Even if they take you 3,000 miles away. Even if it kills me. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. The next day brought catastrophe of a different kind. Rachel pulled Maya aside mid-morning, face serious. Char received an anonymous complaint. About you and Daniel. Maya felt the floor drop. What kind of complaint? Favoritism. Improper promotion. They have to investigate. Tyler traced the IP address within 2 hours. Led back to an investment firm in Midtown, Natalie's office. The investigation cleared them within a week. Their relationship had been properly disclosed. Maya's promotion based entirely on merit, but the damage was done. Office gossip, whispered conversations, questions about whether their relationship was worth the scrutiny. Friday night, Maya stood in Daniel's apartment. Manhattan spread out below them through floor-to-ceiling windows. The conversation they'd been avoiding finally happening. I need to know something. Maya's voice was steady despite her shaking hands. Did you ever expect me to choose you over my career? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. No, he said finally. Maybe. I don't know, Maya. I want both. I want you to chase every dream, and I want you here with me. And I know that's not fair. Natalie said you asked her to postpone Paris. I asked her to consider postponing, so we could plan. She refused to even discuss it. Were you wrong to ask? Daniel turned to face her fully. Maybe I was. I was young and in love and terrified of losing her. When she left, I swore I'd never put anyone in that position again. He stepped closer, took her hands, and then you came along and turned my world upside down. Maya, if you want San Francisco, take it. I'll support you even if it destroys me. Maya felt tears spill over. What if there was another way? What do you mean? What if I take the job but we make this work? Flights every month, video calls, weekends together. What if we refuse to choose? For how long? Daniel's voice was rough. San Francisco is permanent. Then we figure out permanent. Maybe you open a West Coast office eventually. Maybe I come back. Maybe we find something neither of us has imagined yet. The words hung between them. A lifeline, a possibility. Daniel pulled her close, rested his forehead against hers. You do long distance for us? I do anything for us, Maya whispered. But I need you to do the same. No ultimatums, no resentment, just us figuring it out together. I promise. His voice broke slightly. No expectations, just us. They kissed, desperate and tender, sealing a promise neither of them knew if they could keep. Monday morning, Maya accepted Victoria's offer. With conditions, monthly visits to New York, flexible schedule for the first year, the freedom to build something extraordinary while keeping one foot in the city that had become home. Summit Tech threw a farewell party. Tyler hugged her hard enough to crack ribs. Rachel cried. The team gave her a framed photograph of the New York skyline with all their signatures on the back. The night before she left, Daniel gave her a present, small velvet box that made her heart stop until she opened it. Not an engagement ring, an airplane pendant on a gold chain, diamond wings catching the light. So you remember you always have a place to land. Daniel fastened it around her neck, his fingers gentle against her skin. She turned to face him, saw her future reflected in his gray eyes. I love you. The words came easily, all of you, even the part that's 3,000 miles away. I love you too. Daniel kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. And Maya, when you come back, however long that takes, I'm asking you a very important question. What kind of question? The kind that it involves a much bigger ring and a very long conversation about forever. Sunday morning at JFK Airport, full circle from where they'd started, except this time there was no running, no anger, just Daniel holding her close while her flight was called. 6 months, Maya whispered against his chest. We can do 6 months. We can do anything. Daniel pulled back to look at her. We survived you calling me a jerk. Natalie, HER investigations. We can survive distance. What if it's more than 6 months? Then we survived that too. Maya walked towards security, turned back one more time, saw Daniel standing there, hands in pockets, eyes full of everything they hadn't said. She ran back, kissed him one more time. "When I come back," she said. "Not if. When. I want forever." "Is that a proposal, Miss Chen?" "It's a promise." On the plane, somewhere over Pennsylvania, Maya's phone buzzed with a text. "Counting down to your first visit home. 27 days. I love you. Always. D." Maya touched the airplane pendant at her throat, looked out at the clouds below, thought about collisions and choices and the courage it took to fly towards something instead of away from it. San Francisco was waiting. So was her future. But her heart was 30,000 feet below, standing in a New York airport, counting down the days until she came home. And somehow, impossibly, that was enough. San Francisco greeted Maya with vision and possibility, the kind of gray morning that made the Golden Gate Bridge look like it was floating between worlds. Between what was and what could be. Apex Digital headquarters occupied 3 floors in the financial district. Glass and steel and the hum of a company being built from nothing. Maya's corner office had views of the bay, could see Alcatraz in the distance, a reminder that even prisons could become tourist attractions if you waited long enough. Her first day as CEO at 26 years old felt like wearing clothes that didn't quite fit yet. Expensive, well-made, but borrowed from someone else's closet. 15 direct reports sat in the conference room watching her with the expressions that ranged from skeptical to curious. She was younger than most of them, less experienced than all of them, and very aware that Victoria Sterling had just handed her the keys to a $50 million experiment. Maya took a breath, thought about Daniel's voice on the phone that morning. "You're going to be brilliant. You always are." She began to speak. The first month passed in a blur of hiring decisions and infrastructure builds. 12-hour days became 14, became 16. Maya fell into bed in her Nob Hill studio apartment, too exhausted to do anything but text Daniel goodnight and pass out before he could respond. Their video calls happened at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Daniel would be in his Brooklyn apartment, still in his work shirt but tie loosened. Maya would be at her desk, hair in a messy bun, cold coffee beside her laptop. "How was your day?" became their ritual opening. A question with answers that grew longer and more detailed because they were hungry for any piece of each other's lives. Daniel told her about Tyler's latest coding breakthrough, about Rachel's engagement to her girlfriend, about the new client presentation that went better than expected. His voice filled her apartment, made the space feel less empty. Maya told him about hiring her first VP, about the product roadmap taking shape, about Victoria's impossible expectations and her own determination to exceed them. His face on the screen became her anchor, the thing that made sense when everything else felt overwhelming. Good morning texts arrived like clockwork, pictures of Daniel's coffee beside her airplane necklace that he'd apparently started wearing on a chain around his wrist. Goodnight messages that always ended with, "I love you," even when they were both too tired to say much else. Month 2 brought the first cracks. Maya missed a call because she was in an all-day strategy session. Daniel called 3 more times, left voicemails that grew progressively more worried. When she finally called back at midnight his time, his relief was palpable, but so was his frustration. "I thought something happened." His voice was tight. "You always answer." "I was in a meeting." Maya felt defensive, exhausted. "I can't be on call every second." "I'm not asking you to be on call. I'm asking you to send one text so I know you're alive." The fight escalated from there, small frustrations becoming big ones. Time zones, missed calls, the way distance magnified every misunderstanding into something larger than it needed to be. They hung up angry, made up 3 hours later with apologies and promises to do better. But the pattern was established, the reality of 3,000 miles settling into their bones. Month 3 brought Natalie back into the picture. She appeared at a Summit Tech investor meeting. Legitimate business, but her presence sent a text to Maya at 2 in the morning New York time. She was there tonight. Daniel's message was immediate, transparent, trying to avoid the mistakes of the past. "Wanted to tell you before anyone else did. Nothing happened. Nothing will happen. I love you." Maya stared at her phone in the dark, felt insecurity crawl up her throat despite Daniel's reassurance. Type back, "I trust you." Meant it, but also wondered how long trust could survive when she was 3,000 miles away and Natalie was right there. Month 4 brought their first reunion. Maya flew home for a long weekend. Daniel picked her up at JFK, The moment she saw him through the arrivals gate, everything else fell away. He kissed her like a drowning lion finding air, right there in the terminal. Didn't care who was watching. Maya melted into him, remembered why they were doing this impossible thing. The weekend blurred. Antonio's restaurant, where they shared carbonara and caught up on everything video calls couldn't convey. Daniel's apartment, where they barely left the bedroom. Central Park on Sunday afternoon, walking hand in hand through autumn leaves. Sunday evening came too fast. Always too fast. Maya's flight back to San Francisco loomed like an execution. At the airport, Daniel held her close, his voice rough against her hair. This is unsustainable. I know. Maya felt tears threatening, but I don't know what else to do. We'll figure it out. His hands cupped her face. We always do. But the words felt hollow, wishful thinking masquerading as certainty. Month 5 brought the meeting that changed everything. Victoria called Maya to her office, not the San Francisco temporary space, but Apex Industries headquarters, the real seat of power, corner office with views that stretched to the horizon. Sit. Victoria gestured to the chair across from her desk. We need to talk about your future. Maya's stomach clenched. The phrase your future never meant anything good in her experience. Apex Digital is exceeding every projection. Victoria pulled up charts on her screen, turned the monitor so Maya could see. Revenue, user acquisition, market penetration. You've built something extraordinary in 5 months. Thank you. Maya waited for the other shoe to drop. The board wants to expand. Victoria leaned back. Seattle, Austin, Los Angeles, an entire West Coast operation. And I want you to run it as COO of Apex West. The words took a moment to process. COO, Maya repeated. Chief Operating Officer. 500,000 salary. Significant equity. Victoria's expression was unreadable. Based here in San Francisco indefinitely. Extensive travel. Building an empire. She paused. Let the weight settle. This is the track to replace me as CEO of Apex Industries in 5 to 7 years. You'd be running a multi-billion-dollar company before you're 35. Maya felt the room spin slightly. Her entire future laid out like a roadmap. Everything she'd ever dreamed of. Everything she'd worked toward since she was a kid, drawing designs in the margins of her homework. And it meant never going back to New York. Not permanently. Not in any way that would let her build a life with Daniel. I need time to think, Maya managed. You have 1 week, Victoria's voice softened slightly. I know about the boyfriend in New York. Rachel mentioned it once. She stood, walked to the window overlooking the city. I've made this choice 3 times, Maya. Career over love. Each time I told myself it was worth it. Built this company. Made more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. She turned back. Something vulnerable in her expression that Maya had never seen. You know what I go home to every night? An empty penthouse. Silence, the kind of loneliness that money can't fix. I'm 52 years old, successful beyond measure, and utterly alone. Victoria's eyes met Maya's. Don't be me. If you love him, find a way. Because empires are cold comfort at 3 in the morning. Maya left the meeting unable to breathe properly. Walked through San Francisco streets until the fog rolled in and made everything gray and indistinct. Called Jade because her sister always knew what to say. CEO track. Jade's voice was awed. Maya, that's insane. That's everything. I know. But Daniel. I know. Jade was quiet for a long moment. Do you love him? Yes. Maya felt tears start. Completely. Enough to resent him if you turn this down? The question hit like a physical blow. Maya didn't answer. Couldn't. Then you already know what you need to do. Jade's voice was gentle. You just don't want to admit it. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away, Daniel was making his own plans. Tyler discovered it by accident. Overheard a phone call Daniel thought was private. Confronted him in his office after hours. You're looking at office space in San Francisco. Daniel didn't deny it, just looked at Tyler with tired eyes. I can't do this anymore, Daniel admitted. The distance is killing me, and I think it's killing her too, even if she won't say it. So you're moving? Tyler sat down uninvited. Just like that? Giving up everything you built here? I'm expanding the business. Daniel's voice was measured. Summit Tech has always talked about West Coast presence. This makes sense strategically. Tyler wasn't buying it. This is about Maya. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, looked out at Manhattan like it held answers. I bought a ring, he said finally. Was going to fly out next weekend. Surprise her, ask her to marry me, and tell her I'm opening a San Francisco office. Tyler's eyes widened. Holy shit. But I don't want her to say yes because she feels obligated. Daniel's voice cracked slightly. or guilty. I want her to say yes because she wants forever with me. She does want that. Does she? Daniel turned to face Tyler. Because from where I'm sitting, she's building an incredible life out there. And I'm just the guy who calls at 10 p.m. and makes her feel torn. The ring sat in Daniel's jacket pocket, a constant weight, reminder of questions he was afraid to ask. Friday evening, Maya's apartment in San Francisco. She was working on her laptop when the doorbell rang, expecting food delivery. Chinese from the place down the street that knew her order by heart. She opened the door and Daniel was standing there. For a moment, neither of them moved, just stared at each other like they weren't sure the other was real. "What are you doing here?" Maya finally managed. "We need to talk." Daniel's voice was serious, scared. "That sounds ominous." He walked past her into the apartment, looked around at the barely furnished space, the suitcases she still hadn't unpacked, the temporary feel of everything. "You haven't settled here," he said, "after 5 months. Maya felt defensive. "I've been busy. Too busy to buy a couch." "What's this about, Daniel?" He turned to face her, pulled a small box from his jacket pocket, set it on her kitchen counter between them. "I came here to propose." His voice was steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Was going to ask you to marry me and tell you I'm opening Summit Tech's San Francisco office." Maya felt the world tilt. "What?" "I've been looking at spaces, talking to investors, planning to move my whole life here because I love you, and I can't do the distance anymore." He stepped closer, gray eyes intense. "But then I realized something. If I propose while telling you I'm moving, you'll say yes because you feel guilty, not because you actually want to marry me." "That's not true." Maya felt tears starting. "Isn't it?" Daniel gestured at her apartment, at the emptiness. "You haven't settled here because part of you wants to go back. And I can't ask you to give up this opportunity because part of me wants you to choose me." Before Maya could respond, her phone rang. Victoria's name on the screen. Maya ignored it, but the reminder hung between them. "You got an offer," Daniel said. "Not a question. I can see it on your face." "COO of Apex West," Maya admitted. 500,000 salary, equity, building an empire. She took a shaky breath. "Permanent San Francisco base." Daniel absorbed this, nodded slowly. "That's incredible, Maya. That's everything you've worked for. But it means staying here, forever. And I'm offering to move here, to be with you." Daniel's hands clenched. "So why does this feel like we're both losing?" The question hung between them, heavy, unanswerable. Maya felt something break inside her chest. "This is exactly what Natalie warned me about." "What?" "She said you'd make me choose. Make me feel guilty either way." And she was right. Daniel's face went pale. "I'm trying to choose you. How is that making you choose?" "Because now if I take the COO position, you're moving for me. Giving up Summit Tech's New York headquarters. If I don't take it, I'm giving up my dream. Either way, someone sacrifices." Her voice rose, cracked. "Either way, someone ends up resenting the other." "I love you, Maya." Daniel's voice was rough, desperate. "I want to marry you, build a life with you, but I can't keep begging you to let me be part of your future." "I'm not asking you to beg." "Then what are you asking?" Maya broke, tears spilling over. "I don't know. I don't know what I want anymore." Daniel picked up the ring box, set it deliberately on her counter. "When you figure it out, call me." He walked out, left her standing alone in her half-empty apartment, the ring box sitting there like an accusation. Maya collapsed onto her floor, cried until she couldn't breathe, called Jade sobbing so hard her sister could barely understand her. The next week was the worst of Maya's life. No contact with Daniel for the first time in 8 months. She threw herself into work, accepted every meeting, volunteered for every project, anything to avoid thinking about the ring box she'd hidden in her drawer. Victoria noticed, called her in with uncharacteristic gentleness. "Whatever's bothering you, fix it." Her voice was firm but kind. "I need you sharp. It's personal." "I've seen that look." Victoria studied Maya's face. "Man trouble." Maya nodded, unable to speak. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something Maya had never seen. She sat down beside her instead of across the desk. "Let me tell you something I've never told anyone." Victoria's voice was soft. "I chose my career 3 times over relationships. Built this empire. You know what my biggest regret is?" Maya looked up. "Everything." Victoria's eyes were distant. "I'm 52, wealthy beyond measure, successful by every metric, and I go home to an empty penthouse every night. No one to share it with, no one who knew me before I became this." She met Maya's eyes. "Don't be me, Maya. If you love him, find a way. Because I promise you, empires are cold comfort when you're old and alone." Saturday morning, Jade showed up unannounced. Flew in from LA, found Maya still in pajamas at 11 a.m. Intervention time, Jade announced. We're going for a walk. She dragged Maya to the Golden Gate Bridge, made her walk while she talked. You're so busy protecting yourself from loss that you're creating it. Jade's voice was gentle but firm. Daniel isn't asking you to choose. He's choosing you. There's a difference. Maya stopped walking, looked out at the bay. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared that if he moves here, he'll resent me. Scared that if I go back, I'll resent him. Scared that we're going to destroy what we have no matter what we do. Remember when you were 8? Jade asked. And you wanted to enter that art contest but convinced yourself you weren't good enough? Mom made me submit anyway. Maya smiled despite herself. I won first place. Exactly. Jade took her hand. Sometimes the scary thing is the right thing, and you're brave enough to do it. That evening, Maya sat alone watching the sunset over the bay. Touched the airplane necklace she never took off. Thought about Daniel, about Victoria's loneliness, about Jade's wisdom. Thought about the questions she'd been avoiding. What did she actually want? Not what was logical. Not what was safe. What did her heart want when she stripped away all the fear? The answer was simple. Terrifying. But simple. She wanted both. Monday morning, Maya walked into Victoria's office with a proposal. I want the COO position, Maya said without preamble, but I need to restructure how it works. Victoria raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. 2 weeks in San Francisco, 2 weeks in New York. Every month. Maya had charts, projections, a distributed leadership model that could work if they were willing to try. I hire a strong VP here to handle day-to-day operations. I oversee strategy from both coasts. We build Apex West with the understanding that innovation doesn't require me to be physically present every second. Victoria studied their proposal, her expression unreadable. This is unconventional. So was hiring a 26-year-old as CEO. Maya met her eyes. I delivered. What's in New York that's worth this complexity? The man I'm going to marry. Maya's voice was steady. If he'll still have me. Victoria smiled, actually smiled. Approved, on one condition. You make this work. No performance slip because you're trying to have it all. Deal. Maya extended her hand. That night, she booked a red-eye to New York. Didn't tell Daniel, didn't warn anyone. Just grabbed her laptop bag and headed to the airport. The flight felt eternal. Maya landed at JFK at 6 a.m., went straight to Summit Tech knowing Daniel would already be there. He always arrived by 6:30, early morning quiet when he could think. Rachel saw her first, eyes widening. Oh, thank God, she breathed. He's been miserable. Conference room, go. Maya walked through the familiar halls, felt her heart hammering, pushed open the conference room door. Daniel looked up from his laptop, froze. Maya. She was holding the ring box, the one he'd left in San Francisco. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. I'm sorry. The words came out in a rush. For everything. For being so scared that I pushed you away. For not seeing that you weren't asking me to choose. You were choosing me. She stepped into the room, closer. I talked to Victoria. I'm taking the COO position, but I restructured it. 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there. Every month. It's not perfect, it's complicated. But it's us. Daniel stood slowly, like he was afraid she was a dream that might disappear. And Daniel Cross. Maya dropped to one knee, right there in the conference room where they'd had their first real conversation. I have a question for you. Maya, will you marry me? Her voice broke. Will you build this messy, complicated, beautiful life with me? Will you let me have both? Career and love? Will you marry me and trust that I'm choosing you every single day, even when I'm 3,000 miles away? Daniel pulled her up, held her face in his hands. You flew across the country to propose to me. I ran through an airport and crashed into my future once. Maya was crying and laughing. Seemed appropriate to run through another one. That's supposed to be my move. Daniel pulled the ring from his pocket, the one he'd been carrying since he left her apartment. You brought it back. Maya stared. I've been carrying it everywhere. His voice was rough, just in case. He dropped to one knee beside her, both of them kneeling on the conference room floor. How about we both ask? They spoke in unison. Will you marry me? Both said yes through tears and laughter. Daniel slid the ring onto her finger. Maya kissed him like coming home, like finding air after drowning. The conference room door burst open. Tyler and Rachel and half the office pressed against the glass walls. Cheering, crying, Tyler was filming on his phone. Finally, Tyler shouted, do you know how painful it's been watching you two idiots figure this out? 6 months later, Maya stood in a rooftop venue in Brooklyn. October evening, the city glittering below. Jade beside her adjusting her veil. You ready for this? Jade asked. Maya looked out at the assembled guests, 75 people, Daniel's parents from Queens, her parents from LA, Antonio who'd catered the entire wedding, Tyler standing up as best man, Rachel crying already, and Daniel at the altar, gray eyes finding hers across the space, smiling like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. I've been ready since I crashed into him at LAX, Maya said. The ceremony was simple, intimate, vows they'd written themselves. Daniel spoke first, voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. I promise to support your dreams even when they scare me. To trust you when you fly away because I know you'll always come home. To build a life that's big enough for both of our ambitions and brave enough to be unconventional. Maya's turn, throat tight with tears. I promise to run towards you instead of away. To choose us every single day, even when it's hard. To believe that love isn't about sacrifice. It's about finding someone worth building something new for. Tyler's toast during the reception made everyone laugh and cry. These two people met because Maya has terrible spatial awareness and Daniel has terrible luck. They spent months pretending they didn't want each other. Then more months figuring out how to want each other from 3,000 miles apart. He raised his glass. But watching them refuse to choose, watching them create a third option nobody else believed in, that's when I knew they'd make it. Here's to Maya and Daniel, to building empires and building love, and to proving that the best things in life start with a little chaos. Victoria's surprise appearance brought the biggest reaction. She stood at the microphone looking almost soft. Maya once asked me if I regretted choosing career over love. I told her I regretted everything. She listened. Then she did something I never had the courage to do. She refused to choose. Victoria smiled, actually smiled. Watching her build Apex West while building a marriage, that's the kind of innovation I hired her for. Congratulations to you both. First dance was To Fly Me to the Moon, Daniel's grandmother's favorite song. Maya rested her head on his shoulder, felt his heartbeat steady against her. Can you believe it's been 2 years since I crashed into you at LAX? She whispered. Best collision of my life. Daniel kissed her temple. I was so scared that day. Scared of failing. Scared of leaving home. Scared of everything. And now? Now I'm scared of how happy I am. Maya looked up at him. Scared something will take this away. Nothing's taking this away. His voice was firm. We fought too hard for it. Later, they snuck away to the rooftop edge. Manhattan glittering below. Brooklyn Bridge lit up like jewelry. You know what I learned? Maya touched her airplane necklace, now joined by a wedding ring. What? The best things in life start with a little turbulence. And end with smooth flying? Daniel asked. No. She kissed him. They end with someone worth flying through storms for. 1 year later, Maya's New York office, 7 months pregnant, working on product designs while Daniel video called from San Francisco. How's our future CEO doing? He gestured to her belly. Busy kicking my ribs. Maya rubbed her stomach, and I keep telling her she's going to be an astronaut. Aim higher than CEO. Daniel laughed. That's my girl, both of you. The announcement came that afternoon. Summit Tech and Apex Digital were merging West Coast operations. Daniel would split time between cities, same as Maya. They'd finally found the permanent solution that worked. Victoria was retiring, naming Maya as her successor, CEO of Apex Industries at 29. The nursery was ready in both apartments, New York and San Francisco. Their daughter would grow up knowing that home wasn't a place. It was the people who loved you, the family you built, the courage to choose your own path even when everyone said it was impossible. Maya's phone buzzes, text from Daniel despite being on video. Remember when you called me a stuck-up jerk? Maya smiled. Type back. Best mistake I ever made. Second best. Daniel's response came quick. Best was saying yes when I asked you to marry me. Maya looked at the camera, at her husband's face on the screen, at the life they'd built from collision and chaos and courage. Actually, she said out loud, best decision we ever made was refusing to choose. Building something nobody else believed in. Having it all. Daniel's smile was soft, infinite. Having it all. He agreed, starting with you. And somewhere between New York and San Francisco, between airports and video calls, and the beautiful mess of their unconventional life, Maya Chen thought about turbulence and trust and the wisdom of never settling for half. She'd run through an airport once and crashed into her future. Now she was flying toward it. And this time she knew exactly where she'd land. Home was wherever Daniel was, and that was everywhere and nowhere and exactly where she needed to be. The end was really just another beginning, and Maya couldn't wait to see where they'd fly next.